Welcome another episode of the Growth League podcast. I'm here with my guest, Carolyn Smith. She's the head of marketing at Big Box Outlet Store. It's the brand that has been going through some transition and represents, based on our first conversation, a really unique opportunity for you to leverage your long and lengthy history of leading marketing functions and applying it to a scenario where there's a little bit of a blank canvas and a little bit of an opportunity to create things where they weren't in existence before and fix things that have been problems for a while. So that's setting some context. Carolyn, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. Great to be here.
Chatted, Carolyn, if you look at your experience, it goes back years and years with multiple different brands and leading some very established marketing functions. And there was an opportunity with Big Box Outlet that resonated with you, that called you. And I'd like you to share with us, why are you attracted to this idea of building from new and fixing things that are broken? So give us a sense of what called you to your current spot.
Yeah, that is a great question. I think for me, I absolutely get such a satisfaction of coming in to a new environment and seeing the things that I know that I can, first of all, easily affect, and then things in the long term that could make a really big difference. So when you walk into companies that are already doing phenomenally well, there's not much of an opportunity to stretch and grow. But when there are companies that, even when you're in the interview process and you're learning and there's lots of transparency, I get very excited when I hear we're having problems with this. We failed here. We tried this didn't work. We're really in when they show all the challenges, that just spells opportunity for me. And I get very excited. And that is actually what drew me to this position, because there was so much opportunity, and which they sort of saw as these problems, but I thought, no, I can do this. So I get very excited by it. It really draws me in for sure.
So let's put that on ice. We're going to come back to it. And before we do, I want you to just kind of give us an executive summary or a high-level overview of your journey thus far as a marketing leader. Where did it start? How did it evolve? And who are you today as a marketing leader based on that experience?
Ooh, okay. I started my career actually in PR. I worked for a pretty well-known agency out of Toronto called Hill & Knowlton, and it was actually one of my very first jobs. I wasn't sure what to do with it. I actually have an English degree. And then I kind of pivoted when I realized I was sort of struggling after university to find the right position for me. I went back and did another graduate program, this time in PR, thinking maybe that could be interesting. And it landed me this position at Hill & Knowlton. And that was amazing because they were an agency that had a lot of different clients. So I had a lot of, even at a very junior level, a lot of exposure. And I had a phenomenal boss, to be honest. She was amazing. So it was my first experience in a real work environment with someone who was so helpful and supportive to me. Even though I was very young, I was showing up in different places and allowed to stretch and grow and be in these meetings that I probably shouldn't have been in, but was allowed to be in. And that just sort of was a jumping off point where I'm like, I love this. I want to be that person in the room. And then I had an opportunity to transfer in that position over to California. So being young and single, I'm like, yeah, I'll go, hand up. And spent almost 6 years in California. And I did move to another job while I was there. That was when the technology scene was just taking off. So kind of got my teeth wet in a very chaotic environment, to be honest. Things were always up and down, some companies doing well, some not well. So I was able to see and learned a lot in terms around what not to do as a marketer with companies, a lot of startups. It was that crazy time. So really cut my teeth there. And then when I moved back to Vancouver for the first time, I actually moved here cold. I didn't really know anyone. And really then began to realize that it's a very small small area coming from Toronto and California, and there's aren't not that many options. So I had to become a lot more strategic on the places that I wanted to work. And I really was very strategic. I think in the marketing world, while we all sort of know each other for the most part, because it's small, there aren't very many big jobs. There's a lot of smaller jobs, but not a lot of big jobs. And so being able to network and stretch in all different types of industries was important because the market's tough. And so I didn't want to be pigeonholed.
Right.
And that began my journey of kind of moving into, anything from retail, to B2B, B2C. I mean, I did lots of different industries, very, very purposeful. Knowing that at the end of it, I would walk away with, I could jump in anywhere and do anything
Right.
with some great marketing chops.
So that was intentional to expose yourself to lots of different scenarios to sort of broaden the T shape of the marketer, if you will.
I would say many times, but also, there's layoffs, right? Things happen in the industry. So there was a lot of where that just sort of had to happen. And you're like, okay, well, I'll go to something else. I'm very, very resilient, I would say, through all of this.
And you fast forward to today, having the benefit of so many different exposure points, different types of leaders, different corporate structures, different alignment between marketing and different stakeholders at the organization. You've seen it all. And you raised your hand to say, I want to take something that is imperfect, that has holes, that has gaps, and sort of test the strength of my resiliency, test the depth of my knowledge, and apply it to something that I think, in a sense, probably gave you an opportunity to feel that reward. Is that true?
I think that's the word. Yeah. I love it when you see the challenge and you sort of put the strategy together and think about what it is that you can do to fix that problem. And you see how that problem could fix potentially other things.
Right.
And the reward at the end of seeing that it's working is there's no better feeling than that.
When you come into an environment like that, say your first 6 months, I think when we first chatted, it was kind of the 6 month mark. Can you reflect and share on what do you spend your time focused on or thinking about or doing in a first 3 6 month scenario like that? And it might be word of encouragement to other marketers who might find themselves in the same situation. Can you share your experience and why is that how you use your first 6 months?
Because every industry and every company is different. For me, the first 30 days was learning about the business. So at Big Box, there's onboarding is so important. If you get it right in the first 30 days, then the jumping off point is fantastic. So I went in the warehouse. I was on the line processing things. How does this work? I asked lots of questions. How does it get to the store? When it gets to the store, then I spent time in the store. What happens in the store? What are customers saying? Why is that a problem? So I did a lot of the store stuff as well.
Yeah.
And then came back in the department and tried to see, okay, so who on the team has the skills that we need to get to the next level? And kind of what could that look like? Do I need to hire new people? Can that person be stretched and tested? Who do I need to sort of successfully make it happen? And for companies that don't have a lot of money, there may not be a lot of hiring opportunities. So what can I personally take on?
Right.
And often, you sort of jump from very super high level strategy to, okay, I'll get that social post out.
Right.
Whatever kind of needs to be done. I sometimes enjoy that sort of other work that you don't get a chance to do. But as a marketer, I feel no matter how senior you get, I feel you should know what your team needs to do, and you can't coach them unless you know how to do it yourself. So I'm always learning, even if it's with a team member who knows what they're doing already. I'll kind of jump in and learn what they do. So I get a lot more comfortable. So first 30 is just learning the business from the ground up, meeting who I need to know in the company. The next 30 is building out the strategy. I would have known what the issues were either through the interview process or as I was learning.
Right.
So, okay, we don't have enough traffic in store. Okay, note to self. Okay, we don't have any social media presence. So I'll make a list of all the things, the challenges that I see are workable. And then the back half of that is then I start actioning those things, aligning talent with skill set of who can help, maybe moving things around, people potentially. And then you just kind of dive in, and then it's testing and learning and building out the strategy for the next three months. So yeah, that's kind of it's kind of a process, I would say.
No, I like it. It's sort of, if I'm hearing it correctly, it's coming in to put your listening cap on and take stock of what is as it relates to the team dynamics, your immediate team, the pressures or challenges facing the company and the industry, and how things roll today operationally. And through that exploration, you start to establish your pillars for which you're going to build the infrastructure of this new marketing system on. Did I capture that right?
Very well said. Better than me.
I was repeating what you said. What was the first major challenge that you knew that, okay, team, we have to understand what this means and we now have to take action against it? Tell me about that process, what it was and what you did.
One of the major issues or challenges was that there wasn't enough traffic being driven in store. And when I was sort of assessing what they were currently doing, it was clear they had only been marketing to their current database. Right. So they used email, and they were using very store specific by location social media, not driven through a core message from marketing. So it didn't look and feel the same. And there was no continuity between any other marketing tactics. Mm-hmm. So the biggest thing for me was that if you keep talking to your core customers, you're not sort of attracting new people. So the big challenge was sort of figuring out how we could exploit the current email list with something new and different. And they were doing, while I'm a huge fan of flyers, especially in retail, I had to sort of reinvent what that could look like without having people push delete. Our open rates were through the roof, which I didn't understand. And when I dug deeper, it's because there was an issue on our end. So the data was wrong, and our click-throughs were just horrible. And so that told me everything I needed to know. And so I would say I just looked at the current tools, looked at the number one challenge they had, which was driving customers in the door, and repurposed the current things that they had already, and then thought of new other things we could do to get people in the door. Right. And that's when I began to write out my strategy to figure out how I can really just reach a broader audience without spending a ton of money. That was the key thing, keeping to a very tight budget.
It sounds like a lot of the things that you were planning to do represented maybe pretty big changes for this organization, things that weren't accustomed to. And I would imagine that when you enter into an environment like that, you need to win friends and influence people, right? And talk. So tell me about the experience in terms of coming into a situation where they've done things a certain way for so long, and now you're suggesting, in some cases, a radical shift. That's a tough task, right? How do you play that game?
Yeah, I would say that, you create alignment through clarity. When everyone knows the why, I don't just come up with an idea and go, we're going to do this. Right. I explain, here's an idea. Here's why I think it's going to work and how it's going to come into play. And there's an accountability, right? We can measure this, we can pivot, we can do something else, but let's try this and test and see. Mm-hmm. So I think when you are very open to collaborating and sharing, I don't profess to know everything. And I want to make sure that everyone understands. I want to bring people along the journey with me. Yeah. And there's a lot of experts that know things that I don't know in their respective areas. So if I work with everyone and take their knowledge and sort of bring it into the marketing realm and explain how I'm going to take that knowledge and turn it into this to do this and bring them along, it's amazing how that happens. People get really, a lot of nodding heads, yeah. A lot of agreement in the room. And then of course, when you have a couple wins, it helps. And then when it doesn't work, you can say, that's okay. Yeah. We tested it. Don't forget, I had 3 other ideas. Let's try these. Mm-hmm. So just bring people along. And then I think the collaboration and agreement and just accountability just follows naturally with everybody kind of aligning with what the overall plan is.
Yeah. What's the way not to do it? If you're to come in and shake things up and change things, have you seen any experiences or could you share your interpretation of how not to spend those initial 90 days when you need the influence, you need to create influence, and you need the buy-in, support, and integration with all relevant stakeholders. What's the way not to do it?
I think, yeah, coming in like, a bull in a china shop and just saying, I know everything and I can see what we need to do, and just pushing everyone out of the way and doing everything that you want to do. That is not the way to approach it at all. Especially with companies that have had a very defined way of doing things. So yeah, I just think you do have to take it slow. You have to, influence, like you had said, bring people along, explain why we're going to do what we're doing. You do have to take a bit slow. But once you see those early wins and once you see some success, then you can start running.
Yeah.
For sure.
I'm curious about before big box store outlet. Was there a pivotal moment in your marketing leadership journey that you can instantly remember that sort of shaped the way you think about the responsibility of a true marketing leader and the way things are done? Was there a moment in your career that kind of made you go left instead of right?
Ooh. I think what comes to mind to me, I can't think of that specific thing, but when I was working at Coca-Cola, I was a marketing manager, and Coca-Cola has a lot of different partnerships, like with FIFA,
Right.
F1, and the Olympics. And what they do is they look within the team within Coca-Cola worldwide, and they will hand select people to work on those special projects.
Okay.
And I was hand selected to work on the Olympic Games. And I was selected to work in a position that was not really marketing related.
Oh.
It was, we think you're great. We need someone to look to hire the rest of the team. Make sure that they, from all over the world, figure out who those people, what the jobs are, what we need to do, bring them all into Vancouver and execute the games. All the stuff we have to do from our brand perspective. And there was about 298 people to be exact that I hired.
Really?
I had to give levels of roles. And I did have to work with other teams. We had to, figure out what the uniform is and everything, their per diem. It was everything. And I'd never done some of those things.
Yeah.
And I'm navigating with people who their first language wasn't English. Who had never been to Canada before. People from Russia. We had people from, former games to come and help us. Beijing was the next game. So there was just a lot of unknowns.
Yeah.
I lived out of a hotel for 3 months, the Delta downtown. It was the jumping off point for me in how to handle immense amounts of stress. Really not sleeping a whole lot because you're running around trying to execute a games. In between, what people don't know is, there's a lot of crazy things that happen that the public may not want to know that we have to navigate, around a lot of security and things like that. So it was an insane point in my career, probably the most experience I've ever had. Just having to figure things out.
Yeah.
Like no one's there to help you. You just got to go. There's no, I think that was the jumping off point for me saying, I can do anything.
Yeah,
if I did that,
yeah,
everything's easy at that point.
Yeah. You had like a 10 on the scale of difficulty and complexity. It was 10 out of 10. And it's incredible as leaders, how those rare opportunities condition us to just be a lot more resilient, and things aren't as big of a deal going into, other stages of our career. So that's,
Exactly.
do you see that as a advantage that you had, or is it something that I just got through it and I'm glad I got through it?
No, huge advantage. There were so many things that happened over that it was basically like a year and a half of my life. No, huge advantage. If there's an opportunity for anyone to just jump into something that's foreign and unknown and maybe on a world stage like that, there's nothing like it. Like I wouldn't take it back for anything. At the time, I wouldn't have said that if you asked me that question. But looking back, it was great. It was phenomenal.
You mentioned earlier one of the things that you had to do in your first 30, 60 days was sort of jump back and forth between the clouds and the dirt, if you will, right? The vision and the strategy and the execution. So I'm curious for you, like, how do you maintain clarity in your vision and what has to happen strategically while also managing and leading through the day-to-day demands amongst your team and different departments? What's been your ability and what's your playbook on going back and forth, perhaps multiple times a day or week?
I think that's it. We go back multiple times. I'm very, I know what I want to do, and I always look ahead. So I'm always looking 5 years from now, but then I have to I know where I'd like to be,
Yeah,
but I can't work that far out because we're just not that sophisticated.
right.
But I know what the broader overarching plan is for the company. So if I have that in mind, then I had to take one big step back. And so let's just work within this first year. What does this first year look like?
Right.
Knowing that that's the end game. Everything I build and do is for the future. Um, and then I take bite-sized chunks of that and have to bring it in to, yeah, you're right, daily and weekly. I have a team. I have a great team. I only have two people. I have a third joining hopefully in the next month. And I think when you have a team that has a fantastic attitude, who wants to jump in and learn along with you, isn't afraid to try and test and new different things,
Yeah.
you have the best team ever, which I think I really do have. And so no one is afraid that they don't know something. They're just happy to learn.
Right.
And no one isn't, everyone's willing just to jump in and help each other. So when you have that team and I'm in there with them, I can say, I have an idea. My ideas come to me at all sorts of different times.
Yeah.
So I'll go, oh my gosh, I just thought of something, and I'll put it into maybe more of a context. And I'll go, hey, what do you guys think about this? Or what can we do with this? Based on the problem we're having, how do we bring this into play? So it is a daily thing.
Yeah.
And then once we have a plan around that, then I just, once kind of the grain is out there, then they just take it and run with it. And then the next week I'll go, oh, that was amazing how you guys put that together. That's awesome. So I do a lot of, I believe in empowering people. I don't like to, while I know exactly what I want to do and how how it should be done, I've learned over my career that that's not the way to go. The end result is often even better if it's not the way I think it should have been.
Right.
So I just throw it out there. And if I have to kind of jump in and move around and help out, I'm so happy to do it. But to me, it's surrounding yourself with the right people on your immediate team, and then hopefully having the right leadership around you that can kind of nod and go, yeah, you got this. Keep going. I think that's where the secret sauce is.
And that's an approach that has been acquired for you over time, right? Based on different exposure to different things that worked and didn't work.
Yeah.
I'm curious if you have right now, do you have a vision for, say, a year from now, what the good news story would sound like for the brand under your leadership and for the way that your team has continued to grow together? Like for your function, what's the good news story that you want to be able to tell a year from now?
That we were able to grow into multiple locations, expanding into the east of Canada, Eastern Canada, that everyone knows who we are and what we do. And they know that we're the first place that they think of to shop versus other retailers to save money and see the incredible value of what we offer. And we have phenomenal customer service. We are known for the place to shop because our team in all of our stores just get it. They know that that's such an important part of what we do, and people love to shop or people love to work.
Yeah. So you believe it's primarily an awareness problem, but then if people are aware and experience, the bones of value and quality are there?
I would say that as a leadership team, we have recognized where we need to make improvements in the business outside of marketing. And because there are eyeballs and intention in those areas, absolutely, what I just said earlier can absolutely happen because we're all aware. There's no one whose head's in the sand. It's a very transparent, open team.
Right.
There's healthy tension, which is what needs to happen to get a company to grow within the leadership team. We're we're not all going to agree all the time, but when you leave the room, you're all on board, and we are that team. And when you have that group of people, and you know the end game of where you want to go, it is magic. Absolutely.
What scares you as a leader of people and a function? What keeps you up at night?
Yeah, yeah. Leadership is such a hard, it's so challenging. I have had some amazing leaders as bosses myself, and I've had, quite honestly, some not so great ones, which I think that has been great too, because it taught me how to be what I hope is a good leader. I hope I am. I try to bring what I saw in them, all the good stuff, over to me, and I try to do the best I can with my team. I wish they were here for you to ask them. I'd love to hear what they have to say. But for me, yeah, the most important thing for me is not even success of the marketing that we're doing. It's that I have people on my team that they love to work in marketing. And when they leave, and I hope they do leave one day, that they leave having learned a whole ton of stuff. And that when they're 30 years from now, like I just did about my first boss, at my very first job, that I still think about her and think about why she was so amazing,
Yeah.
and all the things that she taught me. I hope I'm that person for people.
Your default answer seems to always come back to the people and playing a hand or playing a role in their pursuit of realizing their opportunity and their potential. And I think, just in my experience, when that is the default answer, and the way you describe things is around them as individuals, putting them in their zone of genius, contributing to their growth, those are the signs of a true leader, right?
Oh, yeah.
And I think so that's coming through very, very clear for me. Carolyn, when we first chatted, you were telling me about how important it is to really, really know the inner workings of your customer, and not moving to step 2 or 3 before understanding truly. And I understand that, based on your assessment, there wasn't a deep or thorough enough understanding of who are we actually serving. So can you tell me about why is that such a critical part of your process, and what are the negative sides to going forward without having that deeply and ingrained within the team's understanding?
I think there was a perception of who our customer was when I first started. So I would say, how do you know that's our customer? Because that's just how it's always been.
Right. Yeah.
And we've been around for 40 years. And so, and I'm pretty sure in that time, customers change. And
Right.
so I took it with a grain of salt. But what I did do, because I needed to figure out who our customer actually was I did work with a vendor partner and did a bit of a test in the market. And this vendor partner has a ton of knowledge and information that they can glean from the results of a marketing campaign. And so when I got that data back, I was actually able to build customer personas so I could really understand who our customer was. And the good news was they weren't wrong, but that was just one subset.
Oh.
There were 3 other subsets of customers that we were not speaking to. And so and then the other part to that was, when you're sitting in head office, you're making a lot of assumptions, but until you get to the store level and talk to the people who talk to customers every single day and see who comes in the store every single day, those are the most important people. Yeah. And so my sort of mission was to sort of get out to stores, pick brains, see what they're thinking, and go into stores, and just sort of see who is shopping in the store. What are we, how are our buying decisions for what's in the store happening based on the customers in that particular location?
Right.
And I remember when I first started, I can't remember what store it was, and they said, we have a lot of seniors around here. And I'm like, okay. And they said, yeah, but we should do a seniors day. I'm like, yeah. I kind of went back, and it took me probably a good month, to be honest, way too long, trying to juggle everything else. And then I thought, I did a bit of a test, and we did a little handout that we wanted to hand out to introduce our seniors day. And we gave all the stores these postcards to physically go and walk around their neighborhoods to all the senior areas where they were and hand out these postcards.
Right.
And then we launched Seniors Day. And I don't have the data back because we just did the first one last month. But all I kept hearing, I did look at the sales numbers, and it was phenomenal. And so to me, it's listening to your team, understanding who the customer is in that particular area, and then jumping on it and trying. And it absolutely worked. So I don't think we had marketed to any seniors at all, which I thought was such a loss. And now that we're doing it, it's such a win. It's great.
Interesting. And so that just proves the value of coming in and listening and learning and lifting up rocks to see what's underneath it before cutting and doing your activation or putting your tactics in place. I love that. I want to jump back to team now for a sec. How do you identify top talent when building a high performing marketing team, especially in this industry? What do you rely on beyond just their personality when determining who should be on the team and in what role they should be? Because at the end of the day, the quality of what we deliver is just a function of who's on the team, right? And so how do you identify and place that top talent?
Great question. There definitely are, in the new marketing landscape, very defined roles that do have a skill set. And I don't mean you have to have a degree or a certification. I think a lot of it is just learning and doing.
Yeah.
And so when I say, I mean, social media, every young person can probably make a post and measure.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not a very difficult thing to do. Digital marketing, I think, again, but there is a skill set that's required to take the data you get back and translate it into next steps. Mm-hmm. So I look for people who like to dive into data, like to analyze, like to understand that if I do this, I might get this or this or this. Right. And if I get this, this or this, what do I do with it? I do liken the people on my current team, and I've tried to get this with other people, is a Swiss Army knife mentality, meaning my expertise might be social media, but I can go across the pond and do a bit of digital, or I have a creative part. I have ideas around creativity, and I have ideas. Because creativity comes from when you're in marketing, it just never stops. I can't turn it off. If I'm driving and I see a billboard, oh, who's that? What's going on? Domino's just rebrand. What are they doing over there? Right. It just doesn't stop. So you have to be hungry for knowledge, have to be hungry just to see what's happening in the industry, just in general, and be open to ideas, be very open, and just have a pretty defined skill set for where you want to be, but have awareness of how the other roles around you intersect with yours, and how you might want to have a bit of knowledge over there to help you do your job even better.
So on that point, I've seen a lot of times where, like you said, someone is hired and placed in a role based on their specific expertise, but because there's a million things to do and only so much budget, we have to force them to be generalists in some domains, in some areas. And what I've seen is, if we're not careful, that their low performance in the areas where they're generalists relative to their high performance in the area where they're an expert creates this belief internally for them that they're not good at their job, they're not enough. And that starts to permeate into the way they show up, even in their area of expertise. So my question is, how do you, on one hand, encourage this sort of Swiss Army knife behavior, but also protect people when, they're not going to be as effective in the areas where they don't have the experience or the expertise?
Yeah, there's zero expectations on and pressure on sort of going outside of your box, if you will, and trying and doing something different. Right. That we're all one team. So, I believe in, we have really great team meetings, and every role I've been in, I really try to make it a very creative team meeting where everyone gets to speak up about everything. Again, there can be healthy tension. Yeah. And even though you might be the digital marketing expert, right, and my expectation is you are excelling in that area. Everyone has KPIs, like exactly how you're getting paid, yeah, and what the results should be. My expectation is you are contributing in some way, but you're never going to be penalized. Got it. If you had an idea and it didn't work. in that space, or, absolutely not. And that way you keep people's confidence up. They know that they're skilled in that area, but also there isn't too much ego in there, because I'm always the first to say, I don't know everything. I have no idea. Tell me more.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I just think just making sure they know how they're validated for the job that they've been paid to do,
Right.
but that they can stretch a little bit as well, safely.
It seems that you value creating this foundation of trust amongst the team, and you came into a scenario where it was a team that you hadn't met before and you just acquired somebody new coming in soon. Like, how do you facilitate this creation of a trusting environment when you have people that have different skill sets, backgrounds? How do you do that?
Yeah, I think it takes some time. And every time, you start in a new position or the team sees a new leader coming in, there's always
Yeah.
going to be a bit of backup and concern about what this person's going to do. I'm hoping just through our conversation, I'm so transparent. I hope that's coming through. I'm very open. I give a lot of rope once I kind of get the skill set, and I'm placing trust on the other end as well. Like, let me know when there's issues or problems, or how can I jump in and help.
Yeah.
I make sure they know that I don't know everything, that I'm also learning, because you have to always continue learning. I'm happy to go out in new spaces. I always ask a lot of questions and kind of show through how what I'm doing that you don't have to know everything. That's kind of the learning part, and winning is gathering knowledge from other people.
Yeah.
So yeah, I just I think the trust just comes. It does take a bit of time.
Yeah.
I don't think it happens overnight. Everyone gets very concerned when oh no, what's she going to do? What's she going to say? Now I hope it's I hope I'm through. I hope it's through. They see me how I work with other teams, and how I'm trying to work with them, that they kind of bring it in and realize that emulate my behavior and kind of see how I'm working in that environment, and that it's a safe space, and that really that's the best way for us to work. I probably wouldn't be very happy if we didn't kind of have, I always say, I don't want yes people. I want you to challenge me on everything.
Yeah.
And I think when they see that I go, yeah, that's a great idea, or how come I didn't think about that, or
Right.
yeah, let's go there, or also, that didn't really work. Let's try this instead. Like, both sides, right?
Yeah.
And when you show that you're vulnerable, I think it brings out that in other people, and they
Yeah.
begin to emulate that.
Yeah. Go first. I love that.
Yeah.
I want to end with a couple things. 3 of them are going to be rapid fire, and one of them is going to be kind of the final word. My first rapid fire question is, what is your superpower as a marketing leader? What would you admit to be, this is the thing I go back to time and time again because it is just so natural and ingrained within me? What is my superpower?
Finding talent.
What's my Achilles heel? Your Achilles heel?
Getting mired in the analysis paralysis, and having to keep stepping away.
Yeah.
Because that doesn't tell you everything you need to know sometimes.
If you and your team could get together and wave a magic wand and fix or radically improve one component of your marketing mix, what would it be and why?
Ooh, tough one. I'd love to learn how to, I hope this answers the question, how to bring AI into our space. And maybe it helps. Well, we're using it now, but I'm sure there's going to be way other ways that we can make it work for us, in new and different ways, better than other people who haven't figured out how to use it yet.
Yeah.
Is my hope.
It's on top of everybody's mind, isn't it?
Yeah.
The curiosity of you, and the curiosity that you're talking about, that you hope to bring out of your team, will get you to that answer. I have no doubt. My last question is, let's imagine you were talking to someone who had spent majority of their career in marketing roles, so coordinator, specialist, a manager, but they're right on the precipice of an opportunity where they are intended to lead a function for the first time. You've already answered some of it in terms of how you would spend your first 30 days, but what would your words of advice or thoughts be for them? It's going to be the first time that they're leading a function and a team of people accountable to the business case that marketing is meant to impact. And what advice would you give in terms of how to play the game?
That know the problem that we're trying to solve, And when you walk in the room, have data
Yeah.
to back up what it is that you are proposing in that space, and other like ideas, so that this has been done before, or here's in my experience, in learning or doing these things, this is why this has worked. Um, yeah,
Yeah.
so I would say,
Because I think the tendency would just be, here's my idea, run with it.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Well, thank you so much for giving us a sneak into the sneak peek into the way that you play this game. We're all trying to figure it out as marketing leaders, but I really love your approach in terms of listening, learning, collecting data, identifying the unique strengths and skill sets in people, and then creating this foundation of trust to be able to move forward in pursuit as a team. There's a lot of nuggets in there, so I really appreciate you sharing.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure meeting you. I really appreciate this. I love what you do. It's awesome for helping us all.
Thank you. Everyone, my guest, Carolyn Smith.